Okay, so I made a video a couple of months ago. I'm pretty sure where I basically talked about what if you had super speed in real life, and it was a really fun video to make actually. And I figured I would try doing the same but with a different superpower. And so I thought in today's video I would talk about what if you had super strength in real life. Okay, so to quickly give the premise of what exactly I'm talking about here, the goal of this video is not really for me to talk about. I'm not really going to be talking about like if you had super strength and you punched that hard, how your skin would like melt off your bones or something, or if you had super strength, like how much like force you would generate with each punch, and I would do the calculation for that or something. That is not really where I want to take this video. What I instead want to talk most about is if you had super strength, how would this power actually affect you in your day-to-day life? And on top of that, how I guess it would affect society as a whole as well. Okay, so if only you had super strength, right? Then honestly, not much would actually change. And the reason I say this is because super strength in fiction is kind of seen as this power to do a lot of things. If you have super strength, then you can like punch people up, or like if you're like Superman, right, and the building is falling on you, then you catch the building and you throw it aside. Or if you're getting shot at by someone, then the bullets don't hit you. Or sorry, the bullets don't really hurt you at all, and you survive that. But the thing is, these are not things that would actually benefit you, or these are not qualities that would actually benefit you in real life. As in, like the ability to exert more effort to lift heavy things, or the ability to exert a lot of power and I guess destroy stuff is not really something we is not really there's not really a demand for that, and so it wouldn't really help you that much in your day-to-day life. Now, this doesn't really mean that the power is useless, right? Because it wouldn't be useless at all. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you think about this power, right, in fiction, this power is kind of seen as this very amazing power, which is probably one of the best powers to have in fiction, right? Because you can beat people up, you're like the greatest hero in the world. But this doesn't really translate that well to real life because it wouldn't really provide you with that much utility, and that's why it would actually be a little bit underwhelming. Now again, this doesn't actually mean that it's useless, right? Because there will be times it'd be useful. So for example, right, I guess if you're working like a construction job, then it'd be useful for you there because you need to lift heavy stuff. Um, if you are maybe moving houses, then it would be helpful because you can just move furniture and all the stuff by yourself without any issues. Or I guess if you're working out in the gym, then it'd be helpful for you there as well. Although the gym example is a bit weird because you can lift heavy weights, right? But if you have super strength, then lifting them wouldn't really be an issue for you since you're not actually exerting that much effort into actually lifting heavy weights, right? So if you're going to the gym to get stronger, right? If that's one of your reasons for going to the gym, then having super strength would kind of solve that need, and so I guess it kind of wouldn't really help you because it already solved that desire anyways. Plus, since the act of you lifting heavy stuff is easy for you anyways, right? Then you probably wouldn't even be building muscle either you're not actually um because you're not actually exerting that much effort to actually lift stuff. Like to you, lifting weights would be like lifting like a glass of water. Like it's not really that big of a deal for you. But anyways, right? Aside from this, on the idea of exerting power, you could be a very strong soldier. I think you could definitely be the strongest soldier in the world. I think that's not debatable. Because another thing that I guess you don't really think about is that your durability would scale with your super strength as well. So if you have enough strength to like punch a building, then you also have enough durability to survive something that could destroy a building as well. So guns wouldn't really work on you. So you would be the strongest soldier ever. Only I guess things like nuclear bombs and stuff, or anything more than destroying a building would work on you, but definitely nothing less than that. Or I guess biological weapons and stuff. But honestly, all these things that are named, right? I guess if you are in one of these scenarios, right, and you are doing these things, then obviously this is super helpful for you. But these are not moments that an average person goes through. These are not moments that an average person goes through, and they're like, "Oh, I wish I had super strength so I can punch someone much harder." Because I feel like if you actually doing that, then I don't know what the hell you're actually doing with your life. You're probably not the average person. Um, so yeah, I mean, it wouldn't really help you that much. It would definitely be helpful, but if it's not actually a life-changing power, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so honestly, I just wanted to get that part of the way very quickly because I feel like now we can actually start talking about some more interesting things. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about the scale of super strength that we actually are dealing with. In that, the amount of power that we are actually talking about does matter a lot. If like the super strength we have is something like, you punch a brick wall but you destroy a brick, or maybe like you crack it in half or something. Well, to be honest, I feel like we could kind of do that already, but let's just say that is kind of where we at, and everyone in the world has that kind of ability, then society would not really change that much, as in like there wouldn't really be that many interesting changes that would happen. But as you increase the amount of super strength that everyone has access to, right, you make everyone stronger and stronger. At a certain point, there would be more meaningful changes that we would have, which we would add to deal with the fact that everyone is now super strong. Now, in terms of the individual changes themselves, I think that first of all, buildings and everything along those lines would be more durable to withstand our super strength. So, for example, you could say that buildings will be made out of more tougher materials. So stuff like houses, skyscrapers, and everything like that. Anything that humans could interact with would be made out of tougher materials. This would also apply to, I guess, everyday objects as well, right? Like your phone would probably be made out of tougher materials as well. But and this I feel like is a change that is pretty obvious, right? I think this was the first thing that I thought of, but it's actually not really as simple as that because, as I said before, the amount of super strength that you have matters, right? But if your super strength gets to a certain level, it gets to a certain threshold, then when you go over that threshold, the damage you're doing is so much that it's probably not even worth it to make things tougher anymore, or like it's probably like too expensive to do it. So it wouldn't really matter that much because you'd be able to destroy those buildings or those objects or whatever, anyways, right? Like imagine if everyone has the super strength to destroy a building. Like, and when I say building, I mean like maybe like a two-story house. You could just destroy with one punch. If you can do that, then it's not really worth it to make that building stronger, or at least make all buildings in the world more stronger, because that's obviously very expensive to do, right? Especially if you could destroy the building, you're gonna do a lot of damage to it anyways, even if you made it tougher and made it out of tougher materials. And this kind of line of thinking would pretty much apply all the way to your maximum power, where as you get stronger, there's pretty much zero incentive to make things tougher. Not necessarily because you can't do it, but it's just so much more expensive than it's actually worth. Especially if you have the capacity to like let's say if you could destroy a city with one punch, right? Let's just say you could do it. Are you gonna now build a dome around the city to protect the city or something, or maybe like build everything in the city to be more stronger? I don't really see a way where you could do that. Even if you could somehow do that, the ground around the city would be destroyed, right? Like the dirt around it, everything would be destroyed. So at a certain point, making things tougher wouldn't really achieve anything, as in like it's not gonna matter in the sense of whether the object is destroyed or not, because you're just way too strong for it to even matter. Now, what I'm pretty much saying is is a bit like grim, because what I'm saying is that everyone is, I guess, because this kind of does mean that people are out to destroy things for the sake of destroying it, and that is obviously not the case. People won't necessarily become, angry, or they won't start acting really just because of their super strength. It's like because super strength is basically an amplification power. It's basically just applied on top of your strength, right? So they're not gonna really do much, right? But the difference is that since now they have the capability of doing it, it only needs really one bad actor, one person to um, basically punch something, or have the malicious intent to destroy something, and it will be destroyed, right? It's like bank robberies, right? People who rob the bank obviously are trying to rob the bank, right? And they make their plans because that's I guess the best way to rob a bank, right? But if someone had super strength, then they would just destroy the bank. There's no need to really make any plans, because that's the best solution that you could have to rob the bank. That's pretty much what I mean, is that since everyone is more powerful, you don't need that many people to actually cause more damage. You only need like at least just one person to actually cause a lot of damage, especially if you're talking about city level destruction. Then like imagine 7 billion people in the world, right? Obviously at least one person is gonna destroy a lot of stuff. Like that is, it is inevitable that that will happen because you can't really stop people from using their powers, right? It's not like we suddenly got better morals or better judgment or all of that just because you're super strength, right? So people will still act in the same way. It's just that they have more access to more power. So basically the amount of power that you have access to is very important. And if your power is below a certain threshold, then you can definitely fortify things and you can live with it. But at a certain point, if your power is so great, the amount of protection that you're doing or the amount of fortifying that you're doing won't really matter that much. In fact, I think it might be more expensive than it's actually worth to do that. So it wouldn't really work out in the end for us, I think. Now, because of this, you could say that society would maybe like come to an end because the amount of, I guess, criminals and malicious people in the world would still stay the same, right? But it's just that they have access to more power, and since it's hard to really enforce laws stringently, it'd be hard to really do anything about it as well. Because if you fight them, then you'd be using the same amount of power that they're using as well. So basically, the whole world would pretty much be like a trust exercise. Now, this is not always the case, as in, if the scale of power we have is below some threshold, then it won't matter that much. But generally speaking, I think that the world would definitely be very chaotic. Everything I've said so far is pretty much like pretty grim, right? And making generalizations on, I guess, how you would act and all that stuff. So for the next part, I'm just quickly gonna name some cool things that I thought of whilst thinking about how super strength could affect us. So first of all, things which would exist to protect us, which are protecting us in like the terms of our durability, would not really exist anymore. So airbags come to mind, right? But it also means that, like, for example, right, I think skydiving would also be kind of weird, and maybe rock climbing as well, and any activity where you're pretty much like doing something like this. Because if you're skydiving, then you don't really need a parachute because you would survive the fall anyways. And if you're rock climbing, then same, you wouldn't need any equipment, right? Because you would survive the fall anyways. Other than that, though, parachutes are still pretty useful because they just slow down your descent, so you can just admire the view, right? So I don't think that you would be like jumping off planes without any parachutes, right? But I think that maybe you could say that there'd be a new activity which would be created where you pretty much just jump off high places just to like face flat on the ground, because I don't know, maybe that's enjoyable. This is a bit weird though, to be honest, because that would still hurt even if you are durable. So I don't know how popular the activity would be, but it's an option, I guess. I think our relationship with animals would change a little bit because you are generally afraid of animals, right? Like tigers, bears, and all that stuff, because we can't really beat them, right? And also they can kill us pretty easily. But with super strength and durability as well, we would be very strong enough to deal with, I guess, animals like that pretty easily. So we would probably be the strongest animals in the entire world. So there wouldn't be a fear aspect to these animals in terms of how we interact with them, right? I don't know how else this would interact our relationship with them, but I think at the very least it would impact culture, because there wouldn't be movies made about this giant snake who is out to get people, or maybe like dinosaurs as well, right? Like the Jurassic Park movies, those would not be made anymore because dinosaurs would not be stronger than us. So there wouldn't be a fear factor in that regard. So we wouldn't be making movies like that, or any TV shows like that, or anything where we involve animals that are able to kill us, those animals because no animals like that would exist anymore. But this wouldn't really apply like for all animals, because we would still be damaged by things like poison and venom and stuff like that. So I guess to us the strongest animals in the world would actually be like snakes and the poison dart frog or something, right? So we probably respect those animals a lot. I guess it's since we would be in the top of the food chain, any animals which can I guess hurt us, we would respect a lot. We would respect those animals a lot. Another thing is that I think natural disasters wouldn't really be that big of a deal. Not necessarily because we would see them less or more, or like they do less damage or more damage. They would actually do the same amount of damage and with the same amount of frequency as we have in real life. But because there's just more destruction all around, right, with our super strength, when a natural disaster does something, we wouldn't really be that crazy because we'd be so used to seeing that type of destruction anyways, right? And because no one can actually die from a natural disaster because we can just because of our durability, we wouldn't really be scared of them. They would kind of just be like a natural weather phenomena that we kind of just see, that we kind of just don't have a problem with. I guess we kind of respect, but it just kind of they just kind of exist, and they wouldn't really be a big deal anymore. It's the equivalent of like if it rains, right? You just see, oh, it rained, but you're not gonna really do anything about the fact it rained. Obviously, the natural disaster could destroy your house and all that stuff, but we would already be used to that living in a world where everyone has super strength because that kind of destruction would already happen anyways, right? Okay, so that's all I have to say. I think if I were to sum up my thoughts on this power in society, I would say that it would first of all obviously need to depend on the scale of the power, right? But I think even if you are thinking really optimistically, I don't think that we can make it out in society in a good way. Like I think that is definitely GG's for us as a species. I think if everyone had super strength, if only you had it, then I think it'd be more manageable. Then I think it'd be more cooler actually. But if everyone had it, then I think that we would all probably die. I think that the scale of power we would need to even reach that kind of destruction would actually be probably more like low than what you might think as well. Okay, let me know what you guys think as well. I did try to keep this video brief because I'm trying to experiment with video length right now, so I did skip a lot of points. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.